Hi, we're Martha.
Stephen.
And Mark.
And this is Code Comment, where the Nice Games Club game devs inspect the code, assets, and design of an indie game in development. In this episode, we dive into Fingeance, the cooperative shoot 'em up, developed by Escape Industries.
So let's start.
Hey.
Oh,
Yeah!
puns, big puns.
Speaking of puns, Fingeance.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I get it now.
4 years, we finally picked up on it. So yes, this is that game I've been talking about for a long time. Fingeance, cooperative side-scrolling shoot 'em up.
And
Garbage.
Yeah.
the peanut gallery you hear is co-developer is Lane Davis.
Hi.
And Stephen's brother.
Yes, the
Charles
perpetual
McGregor.
student, Charles McGregor.
This is Charles, is your first time on the show.
So. That's all you have to say.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
See, how disappointing was that?
very disappointing.
That's good.
Yeah. Well,
I lead to disappointment.
Okay, so let's play the game a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we'll crack it open and see how it ticks. I'm
right.
gonna be, let's see, I'll be Finn. That's usually one I like.
I'm gonna be
takes
Sparky.
Yep.
I'm Sparky.
All right.
Right, that's Sparky.
You know
She's
who
so
I'm
cool.
gonna be.
Looks like
The
Gwen.
eel.
Gwen's literally cool because she freezes.
No.
Charles, you have to pick the least watchable character.
Best.
All right.
Yeah. So, how long have we been developing this game? 4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
This is how my game development career started. Really, is this game.
Yeah.
My boss literally told me the reason I got my job is because of this game.
Yeah.
Dang, that's how impressive this is.
Didn't you say that your boss, when he hired you, was telling you how he liked listening to you on this program?
Are you serious?
Did he?
Didn't you say?
I don't remember. I'm
People
asking
listen
that.
to Nice Games.
I mean, Lane, you do.
So here we are, and one of the things you'll notice right away that's different about this is that these characters have health bars.
Yes.
Which is not standard for this genre.
Right. Yeah. For a lot of shmups, there's just you get one hit and you're dead. But
Right.
In Fingeance, we wanted to make health important because we have certain characters that are more defense oriented. Like Gwen, for example, the character I'm playing as, the purple one, has this mine that she can drop, and that will defend her team against attacks. And there are other characters like Flipper can heal teammates with his abilities and things like that. So like we have a lot of cooperative things like role playing you can play in it that are important to make sure that like everything that you are working as a team together. Everything is cooperative. Even those gears you get.
Yeah, I was gonna say we
Share
got
those.
No!
we just
I died.
So, Martha, can you explain to us what just happened to you?
I died.
And what happens to you when you die?
I have to wait. But
Yes.
then I come back, which is nice.
Bam. Right. So as long as one person is alive, you're still in the fight.
That's a pretty good system where,
Yeah.
where there's more players. You can survive longer just by that virtue alone.
Right.
But also it's a little more chaotic, so it's and you don't. There's some minor disadvantage. Like one of the things about this game that I've always liked is that all the different levers that are pulled, difficulty settings, player count, all that stuff is all balanced, counteracted by something else.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is
we
something
got-
we'll get into. I
There's
think
a lot of numbers in this game. Oh, we should have put floating numbers on so Mark could have
Yes.
complained about
So
it.
I could have quit and left the room.
Charles is like he's with you on that.
yeah,
he doesn't
I
like the numbers
know.
either.
Yeah, that's
don't
because
like the
we're
health part.
we're artists. Like we think it looks gross.
Oh, well, okay. I'm sorry, we're just engineers over here, scientists.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, this game gets really intense, so it's hard to talk and play at the same
Yeah.
time.
Oh, boy.
Oh, okay.
I'll just say my reactions all here. Okay, we're good.
I got y'all. Team Tank.
Oof.
Heels in there.
Goes down.
Whee!
Yeah.
So
Good
these
team.
gears we get, they're all shared between
Yes.
us, which
so
is nice.
well, we each get them. So we each get 589.
Right, which is interesting. When I watch people play this game, they still race to get them, even though mechanically there's no difference. I think that's great.
I'm okay with
Can
that.
we
Yes.
pause on this screen for just a moment?
Yeah.
So, like the gears, there's a lot of decisions here.
Yes.
Thank you for readjusting my mic, Mark. There's a lot of decisions in the game that are all about like making sure that everybody always wants to help each other, like the gears. Like somebody else can't sabotage your power.
Yeah.
Right.
So this screen is the one thing in the game that goes against that. And that's why this is my favorite screen. The amount of time people spend talking about their like comparative damage and tanking is beautiful to me.
Yeah. And then of course someone's always like, no, don't press that button. Go back.
Yeah.
I want to see how you did. You know.
Yep. Well, the thing is we kind of trick players into like competing against that because like when you're doing more damage, you're like helping your team out regardless of that. So like competing for damage is just effectively making you better at helping your team.
Yeah, exactly. And that friendly rivalry is like really works in this game. And that like you can still fight over who did best, but you're all in service of the greater goal. Like, and while you're playing, there's no competition that can hurt anybody else.
Unless
really
you really put yourself in a risky position.
Oh yeah,
to do
that's
more
true.
damage.
That's true.
Yeah, okay, I suppose.
We should probably show the shop screen too.
Yeah, let's take a look at the shop, and then just as the next level starts, then we can head in behind the scenes.
Let's go shopping.
Little hints in the loading screens here.
Yeah, so the way
Tell us about this.
Yes,
Yeah.
the way Fingeance works is after you do your damage dealing and such, you go into the shop and you get to pick an augment, which changes up how your ship works. So like, for example, I can switch one of my abilities for the ice missile. So that bomb I had earlier, I can switch for an ice missile and it will do a lot more offensive damage, but less like defense capabilities. And so there's a bunch of different things, and each character has their own unique ones. And also we have some generic ones now too. Charles, why are you dancing?
Oh, I'm just dancing.
This music's good.
Oh. Yeah, and so after that, then you can you pick which one you want, and then after that you can purchase your stats you want too. So all that scrap you got, you can use that to upgrade your cannon, which is your damage, your main damage, your health, how much health you have, how quickly your gadgets come back. Those are like the bombs and stuff I had before, and then how quickly you move. And so you just do that, and you're right on to the next stage.
So what I'm going to do every time is I always put my money into cooldown and nothing else.
Yeah.
It is a good strategy.
I don't know if it's any good. It just makes me feel better when I play this game. Okay, so it's going to load up the second stage, but maybe we'll play for a bit, but you, viewer, will see us head behind the scenes.
Yes.
Okay, here we are in the project now.
Yes. This is our main menu scene, I think.
Lane, you're behind the wheel, so you're going to
am.
be showing us around.
Hey, welcome to Vengeance.
And we just did the shopping, so maybe let's take a look at the shop system
Sure.
and see how you guys put that together.
Which is that the shop or the shop
UI test.
Okay.
Because we never changed it to shop.
Well, players don't see this, so
Yeah. There's always, whenever you look, you're always like, oh, I meant to rename that. I meant to rename that. I meant to rename that. And
yeah. So Charles, you want to talk about like how the shop system works and stuff?
Sure. A lot of the things that I do are the UI stuff.
If I hit run here, will anything happen?
No.
The
You'll
nice
see
little illustration.
Yeah, you'll see that it'll sort of run, and then it'll not run.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Familiar to a lot of viewers, I'm sure.
So the shop test. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. And it has the same music.
I like the bubbles. Very calming.
Okay.
Just like shopping music should be.
The shop test is more or less there are objects in here called player shop, and they contain multiple like menus that you can switch between, and then we'll load up this scene to illustrate so you can go through the different menus and such.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like what you saw there, like when we switched between the augments and the purchasing things, you can see all of that here. This is how it looks in the guts.
Yeah.
Right. And you can see that each player has their own camera and canvas attached. So depending on, so you saw the 4 up when there's 4 of us, but when there's 3, there's 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, or some other arrangement.
Yeah.
And then if there's 2, it's split screen down the middle, left and right. And so it adapts, which is really cool. And so that's why it's built in these different things and why you don't see it right away in the editor mode, right?
Yeah. In fact, you can also jump in this screen, and it'll just automatically adapt to how many players are playing.
Right.
Hey,
And stuff like that.
you can't jump out yet.
Yeah, you can't do that. Them problems though.
Yeah, it's like a technical issue, but also a design issue. Like, what does hopping out of a game even mean?
Yeah, we've solved all of the design issues.
Oh,
we
have
just
you?
haven't implemented.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So would the FCC crack down on us if we talked a little bit of shop design here?
Oh,
Go ahead.
we
Yeah?
should.
Okay, we're okay with this?
Yes.
Going into these treacherous waters? So one thing that we've been working on with this game is to make crosstalk a thing.
Mhm.
Make people want to speak to each other, be
Yes,
rewarded for like actually communicating with their fellow human beings.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's something that we, like, maybe us podcasting geeks enjoy doing because we like talking.
Hold on, I'll do it for you later.
That's
Glasses on his nose. Glasses on his nose.
So one thing that we've been pushing recently is augments that help other players or that key off of other players.
Right.
We've started adding, and we've just sort of started dipping into this, but adding some rules for our augments, saying things like, if I'm Finn, let me take you on a little journey here. I'm Finn, but I have an ally who is Gwen, who is able to freeze people. I might actually see augments that will give me a benefit if I'm hitting enemies that are frozen or enemies that like are debuffed in some way, so that it spurs on more communication. If I'm more likely to see these augments that only benefit me if my partner is also doing something, then we are definitely like very much inclined to like set up situations where I'll be able to shine.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the augments, like I'm saying, a lot of the augments are designed to like get people to talk amongst one another. Particularly one of the characters that I think is in this build. We just added Bones in, and she has an ability that will like literally revive your teammates and stuff. Like those are kinds of things you want to tell players. I have this now, so you know they can run into battle and die immediately, and then they get revived, I suppose.
But even just like out of the box, like Finn has a shield gadget that if you're playing as Finn, which is a pretty like a Mario style character, sort of basic character, you engage the shield, great, you get a shield, but everyone gets a shield.
Right.
And I know that I've played a lot of times where there are certain things where like you'll grant yourself health or shields, but also does for everyone else. And then you'll hear the other players say, oh, good timing on that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But it allows players who are not even trying to play cooperatively to just by their own actions provide a co-op benefit.
Right.
And I
That
think
was totally intentional. Like literally, we were like, we got to force people to be like cooperative.
When we first
there's no
made the game-
barriers to playing co-op
Yeah.
style, you know?
Well, when we first made this,
Yeah.
we were very much thinking every character needs to be able to carry a single player experience.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And we've slowly eroded that over time.
Mhm.
I remember a conversation we had like 2.5 years ago or so where we were like, guys, you know what I really like? I really like doing things that help my friends. So let me have a character that legit just tanks.
Yes.
Or legit just heals people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times, old Fingeance.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the characters. So, like, let's take a look at the character prefab. Maybe how do you guys build the
Yeah.
characters?
Yeah,
How do you
move and
implement the
stuff.
augments and like how is it all built?
It's out of date.
got
The way it
it,
was.
bro.
I think that so each
Take a
character
look at
actually.
the new basic hall.
Yeah.
Another great
Yeah.
name.
You might want to throw that outside of the
Not in the canvas.
not inside of the
I
canvas.
don't know, man. I feel like it likes it there. Oh, look how small this thing
Yeah,
is.
now it's
Just go
now
to
it's
this.
a little-
Oh yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, it's Windows, so there's a delete key. That's nice.
Yeah. So the way that the ships are built is actually every entity in the game, which is enemies or players, have 3 components. They have hulls, they have cannons, and they have 4 hulls, cannons, gadgets, and augments. The enemies literally never use gadgets or augments. So like we initially were like, hey, basically players and enemies are the same things. We should just make them the same. But like they don't need all of that functionality. But like with players, they have the hulls and the cannons and stuff. The hulls determine like how much health they have and when they're getting hit, and how big they are and such. The cannons are your main form of damage. That's just the holding the A button and you do the shooting. Your gadgets are the things that really make your character unique, and they give you the effects like that bomb like I was talking about before, or fin shields. And then there are the augments that you buy in the shop. Each player starts out with the basic augment, and that just gives them different initial stats. Like they'll get health, or larger size, or more speed, or less speed, or stuff like that. And you can see.
Oh, cool.
Why does Bubbles have a perma buff stat? She doesn't get perma buff, right? I don't know.
Let's see. Buff applied. Damage taken.
Oh, that's
multiplier.
right. We added that to tanks.
Yeah.
Those are hidden things, y'all. So these are secret strats you can find when you play the game.
Wow.
Uh,
I feel like an insider.
yeah. So yeah, it's kind of it's not a complicated system per se, but it is a little out of date, largely because like we don't really even build characters this way anymore. What used to happen is in older versions of Vengeance, when you went into the shop, you could literally replace your cannons and your gadgets, but you can no longer do that. We decided that it was very complicated because your characters would be switching constantly, and you have to learn how to play new again every level.
Yeah,
that was just too much. But also like the game was like less. It was just not as good doing it that way because you couldn't really like work as a team together as much. A lot of the team decision making would be in the shop instead of less so in the game itself.
The one place where it's paid some dividends is that enemies continue to use the like cannon methodology. So like this guy who has 3 guns, or actually like 9 if you count the 3 different modes that it has, can just use the player's like cannon system.
Right. And so enemies having cannons is really helpful. But right now it would be kind of better if we just had prefabs of each of the characters at this point, because you can't switch things as much and just add on augments and stuff as appropriate.
I was going to say, like, this system it's very object oriented in its at least architecture, and that like you said, it's paid some dividends in well designing. But then as your design is solidified, it looks like it doesn't give you any further benefits.
Yeah,
but that's okay, right?
It's true. It works. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Actually, funny story. This game is the first game that me and Lane had ever coded.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically, I worked on some games when I was 11, but like. Those weren't great. Those barely count. But Charles me and Lane are like the main programmers in the game, and Charles is the one who actually had experience when he came into this, and he was the one who did not code.
Yeah, I did not do anything ever on this.
So we learned. So basically, we learned a lot of our habits from my brother.
So that's where it all comes from.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that's those are the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So each level, when your characters are going through it, they're procedurally generated, or how does that work?
Yeah,
After a fashion, yes.
Yeah.
They are procedurally generated. Yeah, Lane set this up.
They always feel so designed. So
they are. So it's like a combination of I guess it's an interesting system. The combination we have.
So there was a video essay that somebody made on, it might be Game Maker's Toolkit on like how Nintendo levels are put together.
Yeah.
Where they'll be like, here's the hook of the level, and then here is ramping up difficulty, and then here's like a little bit of a delay, and then time to put all that you learned into use.
Yep.
And so that's sort of what informed our entire like level creation thing, where there are this like folder of all these different chunks that can exist in the cave biome, and then we have a script that will like pull stuff from these folders to say like, hey, I want a level 1 difficulty thing with what is this category levels? This is
with
a level 1
ghosts.
haunted, which will teach you how to interact with ghosts.
And so you've just now used the magic word chunks, which is what you describe each of these little sections of the game.
Right.
And so you're saying that each level has a sequence, but what you do for each step in that sequence is not defined.
Definitely.
Or it changes each time, rather.
Yeah.
From these options.
Yes. As you can see, the cave does not have as many like options as some do. But like this, what it'll try to do, and I think that the coral reef is the best example, is that it will try to like introduce things one at a time, and then slowly like put twists on what you've seen so far.
Okay.
There are
so
many folders.
We have a lot of files.
There we go.
4 years in development, y'all.
Perfect. Here we go. Yeah, this is one that does it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Where there are some of these that are just these like beginner ones, G1, Guppy Diamonds. All this has is guppies in it. But then once you have passed the bar of having seen guppies, you can start seeing like more complex ones that have guppies and other things. And you could also unlock being able to see like higher level guppy chunks, like G2 if there were any.
Sure.
Yeah. So what both me and Lane do is we'll design these little chunks with this in mind. So like we'll make I don't know if you like go into them expecting it to be a certain difficulty or not when you design them. I don't know if I do that either. Sometimes that isn't the case.
Oh, I definitely do. Sometimes I'll be like, this like level needs to have a more intense experience.
Right, yeah. And so like we'll design the chunks with that in mind. And so we'll make like little easy guppy chunks and and then make like much more complicated guppy chunks, which is why it feels so designed, is because it is. We just like designed the curve so that like if it's a randomly generated level.
Mm-hmm. So let's take a look at one of these chunks and just sort of how they're built. They're just prefabs and they just contain enemies. You just manually place them in, and then
Yep. So we've got this here, which is our heavy artillery.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we got there's all sorts of technology to talk about here.
Yeah.
Got these little circles that show where things are going to spawn and the approximate size.
Mm-hmm.
And we just manually color code these. But anyway, so this will spawn a light turret at this location. This here, which is faded out, will tell you that it will spawn a light turret on some difficulties.
Right.
Easy difficulty, none. But if you're on hard or above, it will spawn a light turret there. So if you're on higher level difficulty, you are signing up for substantially more stuff on the screen. You're like saying that chaos is fine.
And so a lot of the design for the designing for difficulty happens here in each of these chunks.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. What we have sort of found is that like there's a certain amount of stuff budget or like chaos or overwhelm budget, I should say, that players have, and like that greatly expands after you've played a few times.
Yeah.
So like we want to say if you're playing on easy or even medium, that like we want to keep the amount of stuff low, even if they are individually capable of doing a lot of damage.
Sure.
We're just battling against people's reaction of seeing, oh, there's 80 things on the screen. I need to panic and not do productive things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ran into that problem a lot, and so we've designed against that.
This reminds me a lot of how Rock Band songs are designed, where the different difficulties. I used to do the Rock Band Network, where people could author and submit their own tracks.
Okay.
And I used to do a lot of that, where you'd have to design for these different difficulties. It was very similar to the stuff budget as you described. Like there's like difficult types of things, but also just the amount of things is really the main category of difference between difficulty in that game. Yeah, and that seems like a lot of what you're doing here.
Yeah, because the way things feel matters a lot, like as much as the numbers do. One other thing here is that we've got some things that are just like there's no arrow here, and what this just represents to us is that it's going to spawn a lot of things. And this one spawns missiles.
Yes.
And if we were super cool, we would have like some indicator of how long it spawns them for. But like there's a certain amount of distance during which you'll be like pelted by missiles.
Sure.
As long as this thing's on here.
Oh, that's cool. So you can show it. You can, because everything's auto scrolling, so the time is, you can represent it visually. That is so cool.
Yeah. Right. So really, in a level, the players aren't the ones moving. The enemies are moving towards the player or past the player.
Right. The backgrounds move and the enemies move, but the players just can stay put.
Right.
Right. It just has that illusion. That's great.
Look at one more chunk.
Whoa.
All of these guys are mines, so you got to like sort of sneak around.
Yeah.
This one's good. And then there's the yellow ones are chests, and you can get those, and you can get some healing cogs that'll heal up your teammates. Yeah, so that's an obstacle you got to deal with. And there's a lot of ways to deal with that obstacle too, which is why it's really cool.
You got all the background pieces on different layers, it looks like.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's that thing called, Charles?
Background. Oh, parallax.
There's a lot of words for it.
So in terms of the art, one of my favorite things to do is, Lane, if you can, click 2D.
2D.
I'll do it.
Oh my god.
Do it.
Oh, there's
Wow!
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
Woo!
Oh man, it's like it's in 3D.
Oh my
So you're just using Unity's native, like the fact that even 2D games in Unity are technically 3D.
Yes.
You're just using that system as a way to
So
kind of-
Charles,
Sort
can
of.
you explain
Sort of.
our new like first person over the shoulder?
Oh
Fingeance?
yeah. So here you use the right trigger to but it's sort of that. I use the depth to mimic the things that are in the background, the Z-axis.
Yeah.
But I do not use it for parallaxing.
Oh, okay.
Because since the camera is not moving and we want to have like screen shake and all this other stuff and the players aren't moving, I have to simulate that by just changing the speed of each background.
Okay.
So the furthest ones move really slowly, but the ones that are close or even past the characters move super quick.
So this positioning here is more just like for your as you're designing it.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And
And I guess for Z fighting also.
Yeah. Also for that.
and we have like set up so that you can like offset this to any amount.
Mhm.
So what you can do is if there's an enemy that like you have to chase it or something, we can make we can make it so that the background feels like it's moving quickly while you're actually not moving that fast. So
Okay.
like the manta ray fight specifically.
Yes.
The giant
Yeah.
death ray.
Giant death ray.
Yeah.
Oh, also, yeah, every boss in this game is like a pun or some play on words. And the characters, too.
Mhm.
You like puns a lot.
Yeah.
Well, we learned in our last episode last week that the whole game idea started from a pun. So
Yeah, right? Okay, so I wanna figure this out. Okay. So when
This
we
is much more important.
we were we were playtesting your board game, right, Lane?
Yeah.
And me and Charles were talking about how we wanted to work on a mobile game or something together because I wanted to work on a game, and I was like, Charles, help me, please. I don't know what I'm doing. And we were just talking. How did we come up with the idea of Fingeance?
To call it Fingeance?
No, just the idea of Fingeance.
Well, okay, I remember that we sat down to like brainstorm like what are some things that you guys want in a game.
Oh, okay.
And like we were saying that we want to shoot 'em up, but you, Charles, were against the idea of a space shoot 'em up because that's what everybody
That's
else
right.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and also I made another space shoot 'em up.
And didn't want it to compete.
Yeah,
with-
I'm like, I don't want
Right.
to compete with the thing that never got released. No, that's a bad idea. But no, I remember, I was like, no, I don't want to have a space shoot 'em up. And then we just started riffing off of things.
So what I remember very distinctly was saying like we wanted to have some sort of story, and the story should be something about revenge. And so I remember, I think I want to take credit for this.
Okay.
It's not like the name has made us millionaires or anything, so I feel like I can grab this.
Sure.
Which is like somewhere in the conversation, I was like, hey, you guys, you want to do a revenge story underwater? Are you saying that the game should be called Fingeance?
Yeah, that seems about right.
yeah.
That's pretty much how it went
Something
down.
along those lines.
Along those lines, yep.
It's a fun story.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit now that we've got this sort of got some design questions and a little bit of how the projects work. Let's talk about a little bit of the actual coding. There's two things we have here in the notes: object pooling and singletons are something that this game makes a heavy use of.
Yes.
Let's talk about object pooling. Can we maybe pull up a little bit of code?
Right.
For that?
We should go to a different scene for that, I think.
Nerd alert.
Nerd alert.
Okay, let's go to Pooler. Wow.
Is
As
it?
you can
I don't
see,
think it's called
we've
Pooler.
removed it from the game. Ready Pool. Oh man.
Oh, Ready-
This was before I knew what pooling was.
Mhm.
Right.
Let's go to manager.
Yes.
So this is something like a shoot 'em up. It's going to have just a lot of bullets.
Whole lot of bullets.
And you're going to be instantiating those constantly as you shoot them, and so object pooling is something that's going to help you with that. Is that something? Tell us like how you started using that, and then certainly also what it is for people who don't know.
Oh, we'll just go to bullet manager.
Does that store them? I can't remember.
What's the bullet manager called, you guys? I think it's called Bullet Spawner. I think this was
That
before
spawns- that
we
makes
created
the-
the
before the-
manager convention. So
Yeah.
let's go
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I guess
this is the oldest pooler we have in the game.
probably yes. So yes, object pooling is when you instantiate a bunch of these objects beforehand, and then you just deactivate them and then use them as you need them. So yes, with Fingeance we use a ton of bullets because there's a lot of bullets on the screen. Everybody shoots things.
Oh man, this is a mistake. Look at this. If there's not a bullet, we return null.
Oh geez.
So we just have to instantiate like 3,000 bullets at the start.
Right.
That's crazy, you guys. So, yeah, clearly what this should do is if it, we're in trouble now.
There's an update.
Is like what we've learned, the technology that we've developed is that if you don't able to find one, you just instantiate a new one and add it to the list.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, remember, I did not code this.
Thanks, Charles.
I'll let you know, this is not
You don't need to do any live development.
Just throwing me under the bus, I swear. Right. So yeah, before each level, right, we make new bullets and load them.
Yes.
And then whenever
No, come on. Yeah. This is why we have This is why we have the reset all bullets function.
right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's Charles' scene because I coded this.
Yeah, I totally didn't code. No, I have no idea.
And so so whenever a bullet like needs like if a player shoots, they have this grab bullet function that will call it, and then it'll give it the next bullet that is not being used by anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bullet the bullet spawner, the bullet spawner handles setting up that bullet so like it has all the properties of whatever cannon shot it.
Yeah.
So so like if you need the bullet
So
to
like
deal
what damage it does,
the
what
bullet
art it
spawn.
needs,
yes, the
how
art
big it
needs,
is.
the particles it has, stuff
Mhm.
like that. Yep.
So again, these are all generic
Yeah.
objects that then
Wow.
their properties are derived when they're being called.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
So this is the bullet shooter here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which actually then takes the bullet you've grabbed
Yep.
and then does stuff to it and fires it out into the world.
Basically, yeah. It does a lot of stuff. And as we've again, this game has been in development for 4 years. We've added and removed functions from things, but not necessarily removed them from the code. So the bullets can do a ton of stuff that nothing in the game does.
So nothing asks them to do it; they just can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there are some bullets that can give enemies and players shields, and can heal them. And
oh man, we went away from that mess.
Right? Yeah, no, none of that does that.
Wait, there could have been an Ana fish, like Ana from Overwatch,
So have
where you
you
could
played
shoot your.
the new Bones? Because she is.
Oh
very
yeah,
similar
she
to
has that.
Yeah,
now.
No,
she
I
has an
haven't
ability
yet.
that shoots allies.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yep. She's also an old Russian woman.
That's amazing.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, for example, nothing bounces anymore. I think
Yeah, I guess nothing bounces.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
There's still
the
some.
first augment that I ever liked used this, and we've taken it out.
Yep.
Well, aren't there bullets that bounce off of those the
mines.
armored fish?
Yeah, the
you're
armored
right.
fish.
Yeah.
But those aren't.
But they don't. Once they bounce, they don't do.
They
any
don't
more
have the
damage.
property of
Yeah.
bounce.
They don't have the.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But that is a good point.
That's definitely something where the things you name things versus what you call them when you're playing or when you're from a design perspective versus an actual line of code perspective, it can sometimes get really messy, especially when you're working with multiple people having to agree on what to call stuff, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Most of the time, we just make our own decisions and then regret them later.
Sounds like game development.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how bullets and object pooling works. Actually, we also object pool certain effects in the game, like particles.
Yep.
What other things do we object pool?
Mainly particles.
Mainly particles.
Yeah. The game has a lot of them and different types as well.
Mhm.
It's really cool.
So there's this generic thing called Ready Pool Manager.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hey, I've got a big old dictionary of pools. You can just grab stuff from this object anytime you want. It uses the game object as the key. So it's I want one of these things. So
interesting.
one of these. Yep. And what it will do is it just at any time you can say, hey, I need a new pool. Well, I need one of these objects. If a pool doesn't exist, it will create a new pool and start pooling those things. So that at any point you could be oh, this thing that I don't think is always that common.
Yeah.
I'll start pooling it in case it becomes common. And then if oodles of those enemies spawn, it gets useful real fast.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Cool. That also, I imagine that structure really helps when you're designing new behaviors as well.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, should we
Well,
go
it means
over?
it's one of those things that means that with a pretty small amount of work, you can make yourself not have to think about something a
Sure.
lot, which is always super nice.
No.
This is really a useful tool just for any game that has a bunch of different things in it. But I don't think you really need object pooling unless you have thousands of this thing on in the game at one
Yeah.
point.
Oh, it's definitely one of those things where when I instruct new people on how to make games, I will never say you need to pool stuff
Right. Yeah.
because then it makes coding sound like work. I hate
Right.
that.
It solves a problem that you have when you're developing.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes.
And I suppose, you can be forward thinking if you know you're going to have that stuff, I suppose. But it adds a bunch of new overhead to your project.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Should we go over enemy AI in this?
Hell yeah.
Snap.
All the
Let's see.
enemy.
I don't know. Just pick one. A guppy.
A guppy.
My God.
Those have AI in them.
Do they though?
Yes.
Okay, let's go with guppy.
W.
Does this guy have a brain at all? Wow.
There's a bunch. They have 4 different kinds
you
of brains.
Kidding me?
Advanced guppy grunt. That's,
Yeah, Steven,
That's
what can you
amazing.
tell us about
Did I make
advanced
that
that's a
one?
really short script.
That's
Base shooting options. Oh yeah, so those are the ones that show up in the redacted and
data expunge.
and they just shoot all of the different kinds of guppy cannons.
Uh-huh.
Oh my. Cool. Let's go with the most advanced AI in the game.
Yeah, let's see it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I want it.
Drone.
Oh,
yeah.
Drone AI controller. My God. So look at this. This is my trying to understand how AI works. So it's got 5 vectors:
Mhm.
greed, fear, love, space, and scream. So what it will do, is every frame these guys determine how much they should care about getting into position to attack things,
Mhm.
how much they should fear enemies and bullets that they would run into,
Mhm.
how much they love their owner. So you as Flipper, they'll like will slowly attract these. So if they have nothing else to do, they'll like move to you. But you can also like pull them in, make them love you a lot more by holding down the trigger. Space, so push away from drones and push into the screen if they're off screen.
So we should be clear what a drone in the game is.
Yeah.
It's not actually an enemy, right?
No, Flipper has the character that Charles is playing is the gray sub. He can spawn a couple of drones, and they will they kind of do their own thing a lot of the time. So like they will do these vector things, and they will like be greedy and try to shoot at enemies, or like if you call them back, they'll love you more. And everyone needs love.
So the familiars.
Yes, yeah, they're familiars. Right, right.
LT to love.
LT to love.
What I like about those, the different categories there is that when you're developing, they're very clear.
Yeah,
they're not necessarily your game design terms that you use or you communicate to players, but they're important in terms of how you're categorizing this behavior.
Right. Yeah. So there's and what changes these influences? It depends on if there's an enemy on screen and if they can get in the line of the enemy, right, and stuff.
Yeah. But this is sort of a big convention that we do a lot of, which is basically saying there's a bunch of influences on something, but they'll lerp, they'll slowly slide up and down to make things look all smooth.
Yeah.
Now there is a category of things that can't be done this way. This is one where everything is just floats and they just feel like this is how much I want to do this thing.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I hope I can show this. It's when you're talking about the way that bosses work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very discrete, I am doing this attack now, so I have to turn everything else off.
Right.
Start next action. It's just make sure, hey, stop doing everything else. Start doing this, and also do some stuff that tells the user that I'm about to do it.
Yeah. Lane did a lot of the boss AI and stuff, and he's really good at them because they all animate very well and stuff. You saw the turret, and that's probably the older one, the biggest, baddest turret. It's one of the older ones we have.
It's also the best.
It is the biggest and the baddest.
Yep.
Yeah, but there are some enemies in the game that have a lot of natural looking movements and stuff. And Lane spent a lot of time trying to get that right, and he hit it.
Right, you can abstract a lot of the behaviors or structures, you're saying, you build a generic character model, but sometimes you do have to just put a lot of work into a specific thing that one thing in the game does.
Oh yeah,
right.
We will, there certainly are boss attacks that I was just hey, this week I'm doing this.
Yo, I mean, it worked out.
Let's see. What is this encounter? One sec.
Is it gonna spawn here? Are you trying to spawn something?
No, we're trying to do something else. Yes, we got a boss. I just want to show.
I want to go back to 2D mode.
I don't know, you guys. This guy, you did some good rendering work on this one.
I know.
I'm a fan. Okay, so wow.
All
right. So on the boss, a lot of them will have a thing like this, boss behaviors, and then this will just have a big list of different moves that it can do. And so it basically chooses one of these at random, but they all have some sort of condition list where they'll be I will only do this after this, or I will only do this based on this raise status thing. So it only does this attack if it's facing left, not movement locked. So in other words, if it's not locked into some other attack, and only if it's on the right side of the screen. So and it will just pick one of these more or less at random whenever it's done with other attacks.
So when you those conditions, a lot of those, they'll check certain things against their own behavior, but do they check against some generic or global things? You say left side of the screen, right side of the screen. Is that determined by the boss themselves, or is that check against a global left side, right side of the screen? Or
you are entering the patchwork zone.
Okay.
Because there are certain things that are yes, this is so common that we've made it global.
Yeah.
But this guy, he's really the only thing in the game that changes facing direction.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff that's just isomorphic to this guy.
Right. And then and sometimes when you're making it, that's the case. And then if you've realized you've done it for 3 bosses, then maybe you'll make a global version of it or something.
Oh my God, are you part of our team? That's so smart. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
How much refactoring do you have to do then for this stuff? Do you find that you spend maybe how much percent-wise do you realize are you rewriting what you're doing?
Oh boy, I would say total probably about 40 to 50%.
Yeah,
refactoring time.
It's probably a good sign, actually.
I don't spend that much time refactoring. Not to suggest that
Your code
my
is perfect.
No, it's not. I don't spend as much time coding in this. I do a lot of design work. A lot.
Yeah.
Well, like me and Lane split it, but he focuses mainly on bosses. That's a lot of code.
Yeah.
And I tried making some bosses, and they're not nearly as cool as Lane. So, the player
Just take a
damaging
long
process.
time.
They do
This
take
is
a
like
while.
maybe one of the biggest refactoring things ever, which was just like realizing that like a ton of our augments have to change the way that players do or take damage.
Mhm.
So there are things like, I don't know, like wacky stuff like if this player is at the front of the team, they're going to be doing more damage or something like that. Reward bravery or something like that. So we had to have like a super flexible system where just anything could like throw stuff on the pile and say, hey, I'm also affecting the way that you do damage.
Yeah.
So like one huge refactoring thing was just making every single damage source in the game go through this basically. Just saying like we're going to have a process damage and we're going to say this is our current damage, and then other things can throw prawns on the Barbie and affect how current damage is affected.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you find that once you've done the sort of the hard work of actually like doing that big change, then suddenly everything gets a little easier, maybe?
Oh
So
yeah,
much easier.
so much easier. Yeah. It's way
But-
easier to like make new augments and stuff because of the system.
Mm-hmm. And so the lesson you learned there, is it that you maybe should have done this in the first place, or is it that you benefited from sort of designing at speed, like if you had it to do
Yes.
over again, do you prefer the sort of like change it after the fact because you had a lot of freedom to design and not know it, or did you feel that maybe you should have designed it ahead of time? You know what I'm saying?
So having
sort of a balance between those ideas.
done, and I realized that I'm speaking a lot. So if you guys want to throw in on this, let me
Well, I guess I would say that like because we had not a ton of idea on like how to exactly code it and stuff, we learned a lot in the process.
Mhm.
And so like had we not done that, we would not be where we were today if we did not struggle a bunch the first like couple of years of,
Sure.
of
Yeah.
development. And so as a result, like we're this game is so good because of all of those things.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we had to like throw ourselves at walls several times.
I also think that like your work will always turn out better if you're just like emotionally invested in it.
Yeah.
And I would say that like it's really easy, especially for like new game developers, but even for experienced ones, to get burned out if they're making like a ton of complex like systems at the start. So although that can save you time down the road, unless you extremely clearly have like a crystal picture of what you're doing,
Right.
which we didn't do,
Mm-hmm.
we could have like tortured ourselves doing that stuff early, but we wouldn't have been having fun and we wouldn't have made it as far as we did.
Right. It hurts your motivation.
Yeah.
To have to like, plan it all and then follow the instructions.
But this way, we made a cool game, and then we made a cool system.
Yep.
That's great. So the last piece of sort of like coding issues, something that you guys, there's a conversation I guess we want you to have, which is
Okay.
about singletons.
Yes.
Mr. Sniggleton.
Okay. So Unity has all of these different scenes and stuff, and there are objects in the game that you can in any Unity thing that you can make. You can set them to not destroy themselves each scene, otherwise they get removed, and then you just go to the next scene and there are new objects made. So we have, and you should show this, Lane. We have a ton of objects.
Singletons.
Singletons.
There's- Oh my God.
Oh, dear.
Holy. Well, there's 1,800 things that
Oh,
reference.
that have these.
So
Okay.
instance equals this. Let's see how many.
Yeah.
Hey, we got 40 of them.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there's a lot of things that like reference themselves. And when you have a singleton, like you need to keep a reference of the actual object
Uh-huh.
that it has.
And these are basically static versions of a type of thing,
Yes.
which there are ever only one of.
Right. Yes.
And maybe sometimes it's replaced with another one, but at any given time, there can only be one.
Right.
And that's basically a singleton, right?
Yeah. And we use them a lot for a lot of things.
Because they're the best.
I disagree. But
Oh, boy.
So there's a philosophical debate in the team even about
I mean, I suppose, yeah. It's just largely like when you do singletons, you have to make sure that like the references you had in the past, like they get removed or lost, because otherwise you will like try to call things in like scenes that don't exist, and that will cause a bunch of bugs.
Yeah.
And really, we've had a lot of bugs because of that.
Yeah.
So many.
Yes. But like, I mean, the benefit is we don't have to make new bullets every single time, or like we can keep we can keep track of like all the enemies that were destroyed or something, and like keep that data between scenes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So like there are a lot of benefits to it as well. But just within moderation, I suppose.
And this is a thing that is, it's like a game design thing more than it is a software design thing. Where like, I mean, singletons are something that exists across all types of software development, but they tend to be used in a particular way when you're making a game, because structurally, like you're looking at this thing here, enemy manager. Like how often are you going to need? You're going to need to be able to reference. You're going to be able to reference this object from elsewhere, from outside the scope of where you would normally be able to do it, right?
Do you keep the players, or do they get respawned every time?
We do. We have a player manager, and they
respawn.
They get respawned each time, yes, in each level and stuff.
Using super functions.
Right? Yeah, they made this fancy thing where we can like.
Oh man, it seems less and less fancy as time goes on.
Oh,
no definition for super functions.
no.
Oh
Well,
my god,
it exists. We swear.
So super functions, other times people call it a utility class.
Yes.
Right?
It was before I realized what utility classes were. I was like, I can make something that other scripts can reference and do work for them.
Right.
Oh, I don't have to write the same math every time.
Yeah.
So like what, radians to degrees, degrees to radians? This is a very common.
That is one,
Unity
isn't it?
has that built in.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just an example. Other engines, other types of things.
Right.
Very frequently, you'll find yourself writing the same function over and over, and then you realize, wait, I'm just make this somewhere that could be called from anywhere.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about entanglement in this game of scripts, and why where singletons possibly get a bad name,
Maybe.
which is that we have stuff in super functions that's things like nearest enemy.
Yeah.
To a point.
Uh-huh.
How does it do this? Well, it has to ask enemy manager where all of the enemies are.
Right.
So, in other words, our one utility class has to like have all references to basically all the managers. And by references, I mean like refer to them by like enemy manager.instance.
Sure.
Right? So what it means is if any of us ever wants to like say, hey, there was some useful math in that I want to bring to this other project, they've got to like strip out all that junk that doesn't apply to new games.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
Charles, do you have opinions?
So okay, the thing that I said before, where I didn't do any code, I kind of did some code. I did
Twist.
I know. Plot twist. I did code in mainly the main menu and like the menu systems and stuff. But the main menu and the shop menu are the places where I lived in the project while they were in gameplay and their own test scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
My gripe is that there is.
Oh,
man.
I know.
I don't think I've heard you use
for
that
the audience
word.
at home, Charles has just pulled out a grocery bag. And
Yes.
he appears to be setting down a prime cut of beef on the table.
Beef, and now
Let's see where he's going with this.
I'm placing this next to both of them. No,
Aw.
this is both of y'all. There is a game object in all of the scenes, except for the main menu and the shop scene, called manager.
Oh man, let's take a look.
Let's see it.
Oh, here we go.
It's not in this scene.
No,
This
it's
is
not-
this
it's
is the
not in
shop.
this
This
scene.
is the shop.
Yeah,
scene.
this is the shop scene. It
Oh,
doesn't exist
well,
here. See, so this is all nice. There's
This-
no managers here. Everybody is like free. It's like, oh, all the managers are gone. And then when you're in the gameplay scene,
Right.
And we should actually, this is something that I've talked to you guys about a little bit, where each level does not its own scene. Gameplay is all the levels are the same scene, but then they become that level when you feed data into it.
Yep.
Right?
but yeah, so here
Look
is
at all
the
these beautiful managers.
beautiful managers. And you know what? I would say, yeah, they are actually pretty beautiful. They don't need to live in other scenes. They should just be inside of gameplay. There's no problems but unfortunately,
Whoa.
this one, this manager's game object.
Uh-huh.
Martha,
Doesn't
you and I should
just-
take a step back right now.
Yeah. Step
doesn't
away from the
destroy,
table.
unload. So then this causes problems in like the main menu
So
scene.
the first time you visit the main menu, there's no manager's object.
So it works great. There was no
Second
problem. The second time, now there's managers in it. So now we have to make sure that when the managers are there, we need to have conditions to say, okay, now there are managers present. So we have to do things differently.
So you just have a condition. Just throw it on.
Yeah, no problem. And this has been a really big problem on my end because I'm just like, oh man, another manager. It's like, why is this here? But yeah, so now I'm removing the beef. Put the beef back in the bag.
Keep
I'm
it there.
keeping the bag.
Oh, you're keeping the bag.
Keeping the bag.
The bag of beef.
just in case.
And what if he has to pull out another beef?
Another I'm just
So when you guys meet about this,
Yes.
do you communicate in these metaphors?
Yes, actually.
Is it all Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra?
Yeah, pretty much. Like we have some like there's this on a, 3 like yeah.
three.
That doesn't mean anything to people.
Yeah, no one knows what 3 3
It's
3 3
important
3 3 means.
to us.
Yeah.
But
When you work on a game for 4 years, you develop a language
Yeah.
that you understand that other people don't need to understand because
Uh-huh.
it probably won't make their lives any better. But yeah.
yes.
Hey, doesn't 3333 have something to do with the music?
It does.
Transition.
Well,
Boy.
and maybe we should take a look at that music
Oh dear.
and let Charles tell us how that works.
Sure.
So here we are in FL Studio, where Charles lives.
Yes, this is where I live. So yeah, I don't actually think we've like said the roles that we do.
Oh, I mean, they're fuzzy.
We kind of went over it in the last part.
Yeah,
You did talk
sorta.
about it.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we like
Steven's the coder and designer.
yes,
I'm the coder and designer.
yes.
And you do the other stuff.
Yeah, I do the other stuff. I do the art and the music,
Right.
And some UI stuff.
And some design. And some code.
So yeah, this is where I live. In regards to the 3 comment, this is where I was presenting various variations on stuff
Of a song.
of a song,
Right.
and the third one just so happened to be the one that they really, really
Okay,
liked.
I really liked it. I
Okay.
just spammed 3. Yes.
And then the next time that it wasn't a song, it was artwork.
Yeah.
I had an artwork and I showed variations, and it just so happened to be the third one.
Yes.
Everyone really liked it. So there's 3.
Literally, we have a Slack, and one of our icons is just 3. And
3.
whenever we like something, we just put a 3.
there. So now it's just no matter what, it's 3.
Yep.
3.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, so here is my.
But this is not that song, right?
No, this is not part of this.
Nice
song.
transition.
I know, right?
Get
Great.
on Martha's
Oh,
level.
you're right. But yes, so this is my DAW of choice, or digital audio workstation,
Mhm.
FL Studio. And so this is the main, I guess you would say, the main theme to Fingeance.
Yeah.
But the first level's main theme. You might have heard a little bit of it in our playthrough.
Should we maybe play it now?
But yeah, I'll play a little snippet. I'll jump a little bit ahead in the song.
Ooh.
We should. Never mind.
We should release an official Nice Games Club dance video.
I was gonna say yeah.
But yeah, so this is here we go. And then we're gonna get to the breakdown.
This is the exciting part.
Mhm.
Yep.
Oh, that underrated transition sweep.
It's true.
Yes.
It's that first one really that gets you.
Yeah.
Second one's good. It's supporting it. Though.
Yeah, it supports.
It holds
the whole
on to
thing.
it. Right.
Tell us about that mute solo thing you got.
I was just about to
Coming.
ask.
Oh, it's coming.
gonna Oh my god.
Goodness, look at
Ooh, left me hanging for a minute there.
that. So yeah,
Wow. That was everything it promised it could be. It's great.
so this is the main thing, as I said.
Yep.
But basically, I guess a story that I would want to talk about.
Okay.
Is regards to the main melody that you hear. The
The bop boop a dop.
the
thing?
bop,
Bop,
boop,
bop.
dap. That part. This was long in the works of me trying to figure out what the heck the
Dude,
music
It's
style.
classic.
It's
Mhm.
like what I was really struggling with trying to figure out what this the style of Fingeance is supposed to be.
Yeah.
In terms of like audio and things like that. But we ended up heavily leaning on Star Fox 64 and Bomberman Hero. So Bomberman Hero in particular has a lot of drum and bass songs. So if I were to, you should be able to hear like the really like hard hitting drums going on. You know.
Oh my god.
So
I
this-
realize how much of a breakbeat this has.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it has like a really big breakbeat kind of thing. This sounds almost like it's ripped out of Barwing Heroes. Not
Yeah,
no
kinda,
plagiarism,
yeah.
you know. But so I really was like, oh, this is getting you in the mood and saying like, yeah, we're gonna go down this this path. But then the melody was something that was in contention with you two for a while.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
I remember you like spending hours trying to figure this thing out, and I was
Yes.
sitting there with you, and I think you had added like some other additional melody or something in it, and
Yes.
like you got rid of that because we were like, this is good.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, maybe I'm totally off base here, but wasn't the chip part? Wasn't that considered as like the melody for a while?
Yes.
That sort of random notes that you have in there.
Yes. So so the chip part was like actually
maybe
the
it's not
original. The original.
There we go.
This was the melody. Really, there wasn't supposed to be like a concrete. Oh yeah, this is the melody of the song, so I can sing along and get it stuck in my head. But then it was really missing something, and I kept on struggling. Like, oh, it's missing something. It's really missing something. So then I added in these. I was playing around with these bells, and then I was just like doodling on the piano, and then I eventually landed on these notes here.
Wait, Charles.
So yeah, I know.
So hold on. This is revelatory to me. I'm so glad we did this.
Yes.
Because I didn't realize that this melody
Yeah.
was ba ba ba. I always thought it
Yes.
was ba
Wait.
ba ba ba.
Yeah.
It's ba ba
So
ba. It's not ba ba ba.
it's-
Oh my
there's
god!
an
I know. There's just an echo, and every time that Lane did it, I was like, okay, sure, why not?
It sounds like that.
So yeah, it's totally that Lane. But eventually, like playing around, and this was basically me doodling and just like trying to feel out what this whole thing is, and like eventually it comes into like how it congeals into the rest of the mix and stuff. But yeah, so that's a little bit of the story of the melody. But otherwise, you would have just had this, and then there would be like no thing that you can sing to yourself when you're working.
Right, right.
Um,
Something like that. If you were trying to remember it, you need something to tell your brain to start to like the hook. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
like
the
the
hook.
hook.
But then all the rest of it will come along with you in your memory.
Yes.
But only if you have that way in.
Yes,
Right?
yes. And it used to not have that. And it was just going to be more background music, so it's not in your face.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be a version that had like an additional melody on top of that one.
Yes. I don't know.
That's the one. And I remember I had to convince you not to put that in.
Yeah, because I was like, oh man, I just need something.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just have a whole.
May I ask what Coral Reef theme funky is?
So Coral Reef theme funky.
Click it, click
we're gonna
it.
click it. This was so I was working on a planned intro for the game.
Oh, yeah.
that we didn't actually end up putting in the game. But I was trying to score this intro, and my dad and my uncle were in the room.
Oh, I remember this now.
We don't have the stuff. We can't play it.
Oh.
Darn. But my dad and my uncle were in the room when they saw me working on this.
Yeah.
So then they kind of were like, you know what you could do? You can make it funky. I was like, okay. And so then basically for like 30 minutes, I just did whatever they said.
You just humored them.
Yeah, I humored
Yeah.
them.
Okay.
And then I ended up, see, it's not even working. Oh, man. It's just too bad. I ended up slowing down. I basically made it into a hip hop track. And I slowed down. I slowed down the tempo a whole bunch and then added a drum beat over it. And that's funky. There you go.
Right.
Hey, if Rare can do the DK rap,
Oh, yeah.
can we have this in our credits?
Oh, dear. But yeah, so this isn't the Coral Reef. But the other one was the Coral Reef. But I know another popular one is the Kelp Forest one. And that also has some interesting themes in.
This is my favorite song, personally.
Nah, man.
Which
Nah,
one's
man.
better than this
I
one,
mean,
Lane?
Coral Reef is up there.
Right. Yeah, that
Them
was good.
threes.
Well, I mean, of course, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. But
Yeah,
Three.
it sets a mood.
it does set a
Sets
mood.
the tone.
It does.
Yeah, it does. All right. So
Maybe it's because I've died in this level so many times.
I'll play a snippet of this. See, man, it's smooth. It's smooth. Nice.
Wow. That Super Metroid-y sound right there.
Yeah. So yeah, so yeah, this is the coral reef theme. This is our
Kelp Forest.
Sorry, kelp forest. My apologies.
Okay.
This is the kelp forest theme. This is the overgrown area where it's like all leafy green.
Yeah, there's a
lot of-
bunch of different like little kelp stalks and stuff. And then in fact, this level has a bunch of enemies that like flood the screen. Instead of flooding the screen with bullets, we flood the screen with enemies.
Mhm.
Yes.
So the players have to deal with it in that way.
Yes, a lot of organic stuff, and that was a lot of the design behind. On like, oh yeah, I really want to have this like organic sounding, luscious sounding track. So the main hook here, instead of necessarily the bells, I really wanted to focus on the pads. And I really wanted to have like this luscious undertone over everything and have it so that it's like the main driving force of why everything is the way it is. Because even the bass, even the drums are all more or less formed around this pad idea here.
Mhm.
So actually, I do remember. I think the initial version of this, it was like even more luscious. And I remember, I believe Lane.
How is that even possible?
I remember Lane was like, "This is a little too much." Like there was a lot of
And I haven't said that much.
yeah. I know, right?
Yeah, I've always thought of you as kind of a more is more guy.
A little bit. But no, like this was one of the rare cases where he was like, "Oh man, this is too much."
Mhm.
So then I again went back to the drawing board, disheveled, disappointed. But then I went.
No one recognizes your genius.
Genius. But then I went back and I was just like, well, what if I just toned it down a bit? I added in a. I added
Toned it down by adding things.
Yeah, by adding. I know. I added in a filter over it to make it so that it's not as like. Actually,
And that filter right there,
Yeah.
that makes it sound like it's like, I don't know, deep, dark underwater. Like it works really well for this because like this whole zone, we've used the word oppressive a couple of times to say like it's very tight trying to navigate around some of the enemies and obstacles here.
Yes, definitely. And that is a lot of what the idea is. And another thing I want to quick point out before I switch over to the luscious version is the drums. This is basically like me trying to funnel in the essence of Bomberman Hero.
Right, yeah, this is Bomberman Hero.
Yeah, this is really Bomberman Hero. I believe this is Monogenic. That's the name of the track. But I was just like,
I mean, but slightly different for copyright purposes.
oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's no plagiarism. Please don't sue me, Hudson. Oh, Hudson's gone.
Well, you're good then.
Okay. Yeah. So like this, and I also wanted to have like more of like a funkier, smoother kind of thing because it was really melding well with this luscious.
Yeah. Was your dad happy with that?
Yes, he was actually when he heard this, he was like, "Aw, snap." Okay. I was like, okay, yeah. See, I got him. But yeah. So that's this, and then the last part that I want to mention here before we move on to luscious is this part. Before when it gets to here, I remember you guys were like, okay, yes, all right, it's okay, it's cool. It feels like it needs more stuff in it. And then I added in this part, and then your mind was blown, and it was just, it was like, oh snap.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, now we're getting into things. Like we're not laid back, but we're actually like progressing and trying to figure things out.
I think it really like sold us the fact that like this came on during like a super heavy like technical
yeah.
dodging part.
Yes.
That felt perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, so another thing, or one thing to note about all these tracks, they all also have boss themes. And I'm still trying to debate which is my favorite. This one is up here in terms of boss themes.
Yeah.
But this goes back to that luscious kind of pad that I was talking about. There you go. So the pad in this is a lot more aggressive because this is a boss theme, and it's a lot more in your face. So yeah, here I wanted to really emphasize like things are not like this is an intense moment. So I added in a lot of distortion on like the pad. I added in on the chips of the chip tune, as well. So here it's a little bit more aggressive, just like subtle things like that. And then the bells are always going off, except for at this point where I wanted to have like a moment of release because I don't want to have like intense the entire time where I feel get too much. So here that's where that's kind of where a lot of the boss themes are. They're a lot more aggressive and like this is serious time because now there's a boss on the screen. I have a lot of that. Yeah.
That's something that like cuts across like a lot of our discussions in a lot of different parts of the game. Is like we really want things to ratchet up the intensity.
Yes.
But like every part of the game, you need something to like ease back on.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and in each of the levels, we designed like a little space for players after they've gone through the shop to like experiment with the things that they just bought. And like it's just a little breathing room. And then after each mini boss too, there's also like a little bit of breathing room between them.
Yeah. But so those are the main things. Anybody have any requests? Response?
Three.
Three.
Okay, I mean, so that could refer to multiple things, though.
Uh-huh.
That could refer to,
Really?
that could refer to underwater cave.
Charles.
I'm just saying,
Charles, go to 3.
So I do like Underwater Cave a lot. I do want to do this at some point.
Sure.
But there's a certain part of me that wants our third song to be number 3.
Okay. All right.
Thank
so I think it is the Ancient City.
Oh man, redacted.
They're redacted.
Can we like blur? No, it's fine.
No, it's
I
whatever.
can't blur all these anyways.
I
whatever.
think it might.
Could you
be.
do like a censor bleep over this?
Yep. Man, shield your eyes. So I want to double check and make sure that this is correct. Yep. I think this
Gross
is
beat
gross
automation.
beat, baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is. I believe this should be 3. Yes. This is 3. This is.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Overrated.
Thank you. So you guys want to play out the outro right now? So, no.
This has been nice games.
This is probably the most intense song in the game. It is like, yeah, I'll just play it.
Whoa.
Wait for it.
Yeah, this is the part. This is the part here. Like I was like,
where
it's
it's
all
like,
right.
oh,
It's all right.
yeah.
And then it got to this thing, and then I was at work, but I don't know if my boss was in or anything, so I was just spamming 3 at this moment.
Yeah. So this is a really intense song. It's for like, and this is throughout the entire level.
Yeah.
So this is like the culmination of so much. Yeah, and then we get the drums, and then if I can,
I put more 3s at this point.
yeah,
too.
at this point. But then where all the 3s like culminated, I'm assuming, is like this part.
Yeah.
Oh, we sent you those 3s before you'd even made this part.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's true. This just gave me more 3s.
So yeah, the breakdown. That breakdown is like really what sells like this chaotic feel, and like that breakdown is really what I wanted to do. Though the one thing that I do want to mention is the choir. That was a request of Lane. He was like, "Yeah, I want to have and I was like, okay." So then I added in and then there you go.
Yep.
So this is 3-3-3-3-3.
Awesome.
Well, should we go out on that?
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh.
Charles, can you say luscious one more time?
Lush.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks for watching. Code Comment is just one part of our game dev program, Nice Games Club, which, if you're nice, you can subscribe to on YouTube as well as wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and all the other things at Nice Games Club. And if you want to know more about the host or show or anything else, you can do that at nicegames.club.
So until we start again, remember to
Play nice.
And make nice.